People who create fake scenarios in their minds often do so as a form of mental escape from the monotony or stress of everyday life. These individuals possess an exceptional ability to visualize alternate realities, crafting detailed narratives that provide them with a sense of control over situations that might feel uncontrollable in real life. Their mental simulations can range from mundane, what-if situations to elaborate stories involving relationships, social conflicts, or fantastical adventures. The mind becomes a playground where they can experiment with outcomes, rehearse responses, and explore possibilities that might never manifest in reality. This habitual engagement with imagined scenarios often strengthens their creativity and problem-solving abilities, as they are constantly practicing mental flexibility and scenario planning, even if subconsciously. Over time, the brain may grow accustomed to these constructed realities, making them a preferred space for reflection and emotional processing, particularly when real-world interactions feel threatening, overwhelming, or unsatisfying. For many, the act of creating fake scenarios is intertwined with emotional regulation. People often use these imagined scenarios to process feelings they cannot express outwardly, such as frustration, longing, or fear. By mentally exploring different outcomes and conversations, they experience a form of catharsis that provides temporary relief. This internal rehearsal allows them to confront anxieties or unresolved issues in a controlled environment, where the consequences are non-existent, and they can manipulate the narrative to favor desired results. In some cases, this form of mental simulation enhances empathy, as the individual can place themselves in the shoes of multiple characters, seeing situations from perspectives they might struggle to consider in reality. The downside, however, is that excessive engagement with these imaginary scenarios can sometimes blur the line between what is real and what is fabricated, potentially leading to social withdrawal or distorted perceptions of relationships and events. Another cognitive aspect is the role of perfectionism and control. Individuals who frequently construct fake scenarios in their heads often exhibit a desire to anticipate outcomes and minimize uncertainty. By envisioning multiple scenarios, they create a mental safety net, reducing anxiety about unpredictable events. They rehearse confrontations, negotiations, or social interactions in intricate detail, which allows them to feel prepared and in control when similar situations arise in real life. This mental preparation can enhance confidence, but it can also lead to overthinking and rumination if the imagined outcomes become overly detailed or negative. The mind becomes both a tool for empowerment and a potential trap, as the act of constant simulation can consume time and energy, detracting from actual experiences and problem-solving in the real world. The neurological underpinnings of this tendency reveal a high degree of activity in the prefrontal cortex, which governs imagination, planning, and executive function. These individuals demonstrate robust capabilities for abstract thinking and future projection, allowing them to construct complex, multi-layered narratives internally. In psychological terms, this aligns with traits seen in high fantasy-prone personalities, who are highly absorbed in imaginative activity and can vividly visualize scenarios with intense sensory detail. The vividness of these imagined experiences can trigger genuine emotional responses, sometimes indistinguishable from reactions to actual events, which further reinforces the habit of mental scenario building. This neurological propensity explains why some people can lose themselves in their imagined worlds for extended periods without conscious awareness of the passage of time. The emotional motivations behind creating fake scenarios often stem from unmet social or psychological needs. Individuals may invent interactions that fulfill desires for connection, recognition, or approval that they feel are lacking in their real lives. For example, a person might imagine a conversation where they confront a colleague with perfect wit or charm, experiencing satisfaction that eludes them in reality. These constructed experiences offer a temporary emotional boost and reinforce a sense of competence and agency, even if it is entirely internal. Over time, the repeated mental rehearsal of socially rewarding outcomes can shape expectations and self-perceptions, influencing how they approach real-life interactions. The tension arises when these imagined gratifications start to replace actual engagement, leading to social anxiety, avoidance behaviors, or feelings of isolation because reality rarely conforms to the idealized scenarios created in their minds. Some individuals also use these imagined scenarios as a form of psychological rehearsal for trauma or conflict. By simulating potentially threatening or stressful interactions, they can practice coping strategies and emotional responses. This is particularly common in people who experience heightened anxiety or fear of confrontation, as the mind serves as a controlled environment to anticipate challenges. In therapeutic terms, This can be seen as an extension of cognitive behavioral techniques, where mental visualization helps prepare for real-life situations. However, when this mental rehearsal becomes excessive, it can create a feedback loop of anxiety, where the imagined scenarios grow increasingly negative or catastrophic, reinforcing fears rather than alleviating them. Emotional regulation through imagination is powerful, but it is a double-edged sword that can either build resilience or exacerbate stress depending on the balance between imagination and action. Socially, the creation of fake scenarios can serve as a coping mechanism for perceived inadequacies or insecurities. Individuals who feel socially marginalized or judged may retreat into their minds to construct interactions in which they feel valued and admired. These imagined narratives provide a sense of validation that reality may not offer, temporarily satisfying the human need for esteem and recognition. They may envision themselves succeeding, being praised, or achieving goals with minimal effort, which can be motivating but also potentially deceptive, leading to unrealistic self-expectations. When the reliance on imagined validation increases, it can interfere with actual social engagement, as the person becomes more invested in their internal world than in cultivating real relationships. The psychological pull of these idealized scenarios can create a subtle dependency, where the comfort of imagined experiences outweighs the discomfort of imperfect real-life interactions. Furthermore, empathy and moral reasoning can play a role in how these scenarios are constructed. People often simulate social situations to anticipate the emotions and reactions of others, testing the ethical and emotional consequences of potential actions. This mental experimentation can improve interpersonal understanding and decision-making, but it may also heighten sensitivity to social rejection or criticism, as the mind becomes adept at predicting negative outcomes. The paradox is that while these individuals may possess keen insight into social dynamics, the habitual reliance on imagined interactions can distort their sense of what is feasible or socially acceptable, creating friction between internal expectations and external realities. Understanding this balance between emotional exploration and social functioning is key to appreciating the nuanced psychology behind scenario-building tendencies. Although creating fake scenarios in one's head can serve adaptive purposes, excessive reliance on this mental habit carries psychological risks. One prominent concern is the potential for rumination, where imagined scenarios, particularly negative or conflict-laden ones, replay endlessly in the mind. This can exacerbate anxiety, depression, and feelings of helplessness, as the individual becomes trapped in loops of what-if thinking without progressing toward actual problem-solving. Over time, these mental loops can contribute to decreased motivation, social withdrawal, and a distorted perception of personal efficacy. The individual may begin to confuse imagined experiences with real memories, subtly altering self-concept and emotional responses, which can interfere with both personal and professional life. Recognizing the boundary between helpful imagination and harmful rumination is critical in preventing these maladaptive outcomes. On the other hand, the adaptive potential of this psychological tendency is substantial when harnessed constructively. Scenario building can enhance creativity, strategic thinking, and emotional intelligence. For instance, writers, artists, and innovators often rely on intensive mental simulation to explore ideas before bringing them into reality. Similarly, professionals in negotiation, leadership, or counseling may benefit from rehearsing possible outcomes and anticipating challenges in advance. When these imagined scenarios are balanced with real-world action and reflection, they serve as a cognitive laboratory, offering insight into potential risks, rewards, and social dynamics. The ability to visualize multiple outcomes and perspectives strengthens problem-solving skills, decision-making, and resilience, demonstrating that the same mental process that can lead to anxiety or withdrawal can also be a source of profound psychological growth. Therapeutically, guiding individuals to use scenario creation deliberately can convert a potentially compulsive habit into a purposeful cognitive tool. Techniques such as structured visualization, journaling, and role-playing can channel imaginative tendencies toward problem-solving, self-reflection, and goal-setting. By anchoring imagination in practical contexts, individuals gain the benefits of creativity and emotional rehearsal without succumbing to maladaptive rumination. Additionally, mindfulness and grounding practices help maintain awareness of the present, preventing the mind from becoming overly absorbed in imagined worlds. This approach acknowledges the innate human tendency to simulate experiences mentally while providing a framework for harnessing it productively. Finally, understanding the psychological roots of scenario building emphasizes the interplay between cognition, emotion, and social experience. It reflects the human need for control, emotional regulation, and social understanding, all of which are vital for psychological well-being. The individuals who engage in this behavior often possess heightened cognitive abilities, emotional sensitivity, and creativity, even if these traits manifest in ways that challenge social norms or personal productivity. With insight, self-awareness, and intentional practice, the creation of imagined scenarios can shift from a passive escape into an active tool for growth, offering a bridge between internal exploration and meaningful engagement with the external world. The psychology of people who craft fake scenarios in their minds, therefore, embodies both the fragility and resilience of the human psyche, illustrating the fine line between imagination as a sanctuary and imagination as a trap.